morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is William Michael Forbes, and I want to welcome you to Shortcuts for Your Soul, which is an evolutionary series for helping to facilitate the transition that each of us can choose or not choose to make from being simple body-mind consciousness to being an awakened spiritual consciousness. I also want to say that if you're really in support of this work and you enjoy and like these messages, please remember to like this video while you're watching, share it out to other people, share the link while you're watching this right now. Also, you can support this work by becoming a member of my Patreon page at www.patreon.com/William Michael Forbes. You can also become a supporter of this work through the super chats, which is available in the discussion panel just below. But today is a very fascinating and illuminating subject, and it's on raising the frequency of your light, raising your light frequency. And we're going to cover exactly what that means. I got two groups of beings with me, but I've also got a couple of other individuals here. That this new earth, this transitional movement in consciousness, and they're stressing that for us right now, that this is a transitional movement in consciousness that must be undertaken by choice, not by chance. You will not get elevated to a higher state of consciousness without putting in the time, the effort, the energy towards that end. And we're going to get into a bit more about what that actually means in terms of what do they mean by light frequency? What do they mean by raising it? And what are the impacts and effects of that? Those behaviors that raise it, and what are the things that we think, people say and do that keep it low, keep us stuck and bound to matter, time, and space. As you know, there are so many different beings converging on the planet to assist vibrationally. And they stress that we are not necessarily here to interact with you on this physical plane when our goal is to bring you up to a higher evolutionary plane of being. When you understand this, then it becomes more important how to organize the way you feel to a frequency that matches ours. You must reattune your awareness to that which you know is beneficial to your consciousness, physically, mentally, and emotionally. When you know that you are awake and aware, independent of matter, you are not bound by the changes that occur in matter. So isn't that interesting? I'm just going, because I agree with them. It's true. We are in these bodies. We can use them, but we are not bound to them. And we know this. The Eastern mystics have talked about reincarnation. Millions of people have out-of-body experiences. We all have out-of-body experiences each and every night. And so that's really fascinating that we have these experiences all the time, but we're mostly unconscious to them. So raising your light frequency, and it's not necessarily about the light as a color. By light, they mean a quality of vibration with a certain amplitude and frequency to it. I'm going to repeat that. Raising your light frequency is raising your consciousness to a certain level of frequency and amplitude that is not normally perceptible to our physical senses. I'm going to have to go back and listen to that again too. So understanding raising your frequency as a consciousness, like the individual that is you right now, listening to us communicate to you, the one that is hearing the words being interpreted in your brain, not the interpretive mechanism called your brain, not the words, but you that are hearing and receiving these words as a vibration through that physical mechanism in which you find yourself. You are the vibrational light that needs to adjust your frequency. And you do this in several very simple ways. It always begins by learning how to differentiate your awareness, your being, from matter. Not to separate from matter, but to differentiate your awareness from it. You may think of your body as a stage in what you would call a rocket. And this is but the first stage in your development of recognizing that you are self-conscious and self-aware. To raise your light frequency means that you are in recognition of yourself as a being of awareness that is not bound by time, space, or matter, that can hear, see, and know many things beyond what your 5 physical senses are capable of telling you. They're saying there are very specific things that we can begin to do to raise our light frequency out of being identified with matter. They're saying when you talk about densities of matter, what you are actually saying is the quality of your awareness is identified with a frequency of matter that does not permit you to be self-aware in the way you may be at the present time listening to us. Much the same way as a dog or a cat is aware of itself as a physical mechanism exclusively, it does not have the awareness of its non-physical nature as you have the potential to do so. But we look upon many of you and see many of you still functioning at a plane of consciousness far below that of an animal. But this is easily ameliorated if you understand the process of how to elevate your consciousness out of being lost in matter. Yeah, they're saying it's like learning to dance without a physical dance partner. They're saying the first key is always awareness. The first key to increasing your light frequency is raising your light frequency. The first key to that is learning to become aware that you are aware. Aware that you are aware. This is so important to understand that you are aware that you are aware. I am aware that I have a body. I am not my body. That's a differentiation in awareness. If I think I am a body, then I function in this world like something happens to me, well, it's hurt me, right? And I act like something's been done to this, and I'm lost in the body as self. That is one level of awareness that they call the density of matter, where you're lost in matter. Uh, they're saying your soul is immortal, but you need to become conscious that you are a soul that is immortal. And in order to do that, you must become aware of that fact. The first step is always awareness. To be aware that the body is simply an instrument that you are using to gain valuable experience and to increase your awareness of that which you are, which is light. To be able to increase your awareness of the fact that you are light begins the process of moving away from what you call this dense material realm. Yeah, so this is really fascinating. Awareness is the first step for humans to begin to break out of being lost in matter. They're saying the lack of awareness that many of you have in thinking that you are just this physical body, that things that are happening to you are damaging or taking away from your life, is not true. For nothing in truth can damage that which you are, but your awareness to believe something could diminishes your light, for then you embed yourself more in the identification of yourself as matter if you believe that you are suffering exclusively on this dimension. When you release yourself from this idea of suffering, you begin to raise yourself up in light. But your awareness is always the first step. When you begin to acquire an awareness that you are not this body that you are in, when you begin to acquire the awareness that you are not the thoughts that are in your mind, but this is merely information that allows you to interpret experience, which allows you to identify and understand more fully and completely that which you are and that which you are not. Awareness of body, awareness of thought, awareness of the quality of thought, and awareness of the quality of body. For the quality of the matter in which you exist and move through can facilitate or inhibit the expansion and extension of your awareness beyond physical matter. And I find this very fascinating. So, okay, so they're just saying to me to try and explain this in a different way. So the thoughts that you have in your mind, thoughts that we have in our mind are what we've mostly acquired from this world, and they're of a certain quality. And that quality can interfere with whether or not we are recognizing that we're not matter. Okay? I'm sorry, they're laughing. They're saying I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it. Um, let us just say through this one that it is really important you understand that your awareness that you are not the thought, but awareness of the thought automatically begins to expand your light, increases your frequency and your light, for you are now differentiating, much the same way as you might see a ship going across an ocean and it drops its anchor to stay in place. Well, when you begin to recognize you are not the body, and you begin to recognize you are not the thoughts, you begin to weigh anchor, so to speak. You begin to break free in the waters of life, and you begin to float freely more in consciousness. For now you are aware that the form is not you. Now you are aware that the thoughts are not you. Now becomes the process of beginning to reorganize the form and to reorganize the thought to match the frequency of that which you are, to then begin to extend the frequency that you are into matter to begin to raise it up. For there is a new earth, and this new earth is an effect of the change and alteration in matter, time, and space to facilitate a manifestation of the same at a frequency that matches that which you have allowed your awareness to expand into, that which you become. Yes, I find that fascinating, that the minute we begin to do that, we actually start to elevate our consciousness. So raising our light frequency, there's so much information around this. There are simple things yes, the same things, simple things that I've discussed with many of you before. Literally changing the frequency of our body by what we eat. The type of food you put into your body raises or lowers the frequency of the form and its capability to transmit and receive information. If you're drinking Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola and alcohol, you're going to lower the frequency of the form because those things are low vibrational energies. I want you to state that that does not make those actions good or bad, right or wrong. It makes those actions detrimental to your awareness of being that which you are. So things like getting away from them. So raising the frequency of the body through proper eating, through proper grounding, through proper thought, alters and changes the electrical functionality of the body, which in turn raises or lowers the frequency. So processed sugars, processed foods can lower the frequency, the light in the body, just as living foods, high vibrational foods, can raise the vibrational light of the body, which in turn has a net effect on what you can think, feel, say, and do in this dimension because the form changes. I don't know if you ever look at light filters, right? If you got a bright white light and you put a filter in front of it and it changes the color of the light. Well, so too does what we put in the body change or filter whether or not that light is going to be clear or murky. So if you're putting processed sugars and processed foods and alcohol and drugs in the body that aren't compatible with with who you are, you lower the frequency, put a filter in the system that makes it harder for you to not only receive information from the world that will allow you to elevate up, but prevent you from giving information to the world that would allow you to elevate others up as well. They're saying you are not just here. You are not just here to raise yourself. You are here to raise many others, as we are here to assist you in that process. And we work with millions of you that are at a level where their awareness can hear, receive, and know the meaning of what we say and do and how it relates to their own evolution and growth. This in turn has a net effect of raising our frequency when we assist others to do the same. But we will stress again that there's a great importance on understanding that you must learn to raise your light frequency independent of others, but become interdependent with others that meet you at the points of your transformation, the raising of your light. Okay, so we get the body to a place where we begin to teach it how to ground. We begin to put proper foods in it. We begin to put proper liquids in it. We begin to keep it properly hydrated. We keep it grounded and energized. We learn to do that. Now we attune the body by frequency. It now becomes a different frequency. The matter of body changes. We raise its frequency. And in that state of raised frequency, we have the opportunity then to receive information through our senses and our non-physical senses, because those start to clear up. When your body's frequency goes up, your awareness frequency goes up. When your awareness frequency goes up, your perception changes. When your perception changes, you can become aware of more than just what you will hear with your ears and see with your eyes. You can become aware. You can become aware of the non-physical realms of perception, which are like your clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, clairgustance. There's other senses that are non-physical that correspond to the physical world. So our goal here today is to lay out a simple foundation that you may choose or not choose to follow, in which you may choose to raise your light up and facilitate that for others. For a new earth is emerging. Your physical eyes and your physical ears, as you know them to be now, will not know this world, but you may. in the transformation of your own being from the dense form of matter to a high form of awareness, you will know this new earth. Okay, so we're gonna take some questions and stuff on this because it's a fascinating subject. We go into this in great detail in our courses and classes, not using these specific words, but the concept of raising your vibration is what we use in our mediumship courses and classes, which start in September. Raising your vibration. Understand that what you put in your body, what you hold in your mind, raises or lowers the quality of your awareness as a soul. Remember, you're not your body, you're not your mind, you are a soul, an awareness that has the ability to work through time, space, and matter, but you're not bound by it. But there are literally billions of us on the planet that are bound into this form, thinking the form of matter is who we are, which is not a fun place to be necessarily. But let's look at some of your questions and let's see what they have to say, because I'm always curious about. You guys asked some really great questions. Also, I'd like to say good morning to everybody too, who shared. I want to say thank you to my Patreon supporters. We had a wonderful time last night in that 1 hour. And thank you for bringing your questions to the Patreon private group meeting. We do a Patreon meeting once a month on the 7th day at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where you can come on and for the whole hour, this is specifically what they told us to give to the Patreons. They'll answer your questions. They'll give you the guidance you need in any area that you so choose to wish to expand your consciousness. That, by the way, patrons, for those of you that are here today, that video, the replay will be up on the Patreon page early this afternoon for everybody to review from last night. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to the questions. Here we go. See what we've got. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Anna. Like I said, as you know, whenever this happens, there's no William steps aside because I like a child in a schoolroom. Norma and I were watching this program on the other day about unique homes around the world, and there's this man who's he and his wife over a 50-year period literally regrew an entire redwood forest. And this man, when he walked you through the forest, he could tell you about every tree, rock, and stone. I was literally in awe. It's the first time in a long time I've sat in awe of another human being and gone, wow, this being is completely in alignment with the love that is who he is, and how that love affects and impacts matter, time, and space around. He and his wife regrew a forest, a redwood forest, and they built things, they did things that were completely mindful and respectful of all the life around them. It was the most amazing thing to watch. I think it's a program's called Extraordinary Homes. I think it was the first season. To watch a human being that delights and loves life to that degree and extent, and even though his wife had passed away, his love and his joy and his bliss about being and how his being is here with all other things was such a rewarding thing. And I feel like that whenever I do these lives, they come on, I just want to sit there and watch and listen, just as you guys do too, right? But here we go. Let's go into some Q&A. Wow. Question from Reflection. I feel like our education system was designed to keep us in a lower state of consciousness. Is this true? At a very young age, I felt as if there was something missing within our education. Wow, that's a really great question, because the first words they give me are fallen angels, and I don't know why they give me that, but they're saying there are those among us who fell, and they fell hard, and their fall gave them great anger that they have never chosen to release. But they're going to be forced to release it now. They cannot stop it this time. But those ones have sought to end their isolation by keeping many of you entrapped in their suffering. We use the term fallen angels very carefully because it is a term that your mind will comprehend, but it is very different in the way we would see it. We would simply say that they had moved downwardly in frequency of consciousness and became attached to a frequency of being that is not compatible with their true essence, but which they must of their own volition choose to release in order to return home to us. And so your educational system and many of the other systems of society that you experience in all of your cultures are designed by those ones that are stuck in their suffering, and they do not know how to release it. They think it is through the pleasure of their senses exclusively that they will find liberation from suffering. But this is only proved to be temporary over the millennium. But your educational system is one of these mechanisms whereby a modality of suffering is created to maintain companionship at the level of frequency that they choose to suffer at themselves. But we would agree with you that your educational system uh, is a far fetch away from what is required in order to increase what you call the light in the consciousness of your children and in the consciousness of yourselves and others. We would be more preferential to suggesting that you consider teaching your children the power that their thoughts create the conditions, the idea that their emotions are organizing their bodies and the world around them. This is what your education should be teaching your children, that you organize thought and you organize matter with thought, and that you organize thought with imagination, and that you can imagine and conceive of anything in your consciousness. These are the things that you must learn and understand. Becoming a policeman or a fireman is beneficial from the perspective of wanting to avoid suffering. But if you were truly coming from that place of light, there would be no need for suffering, and therefore you would be experiencing the new earth as it is. You will experience the new earth when you surrender your suffering. Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing sentiment to the idea that we should be teaching our children that what you are feeling right now is creating things. Make them fascinated and excited that what you're thinking is going to make things in this world happen. What you're feeling is going to make energy become a certain way. And again, we teach this to adults in our course and classes. We should be teaching this to all our children, that what you think, what you feel creates experience, and it creates a condition of being in this physical world. That's a great question. Thank you, Reflection. I really appreciate that. Um, let's see. Question from Patricia. Regrounding. We think that means grounding to the earth. How do we ground ourselves in spirit? They're smiling. Delicious. They're saying this is a very fulfilling question for you to be asking for yourself at this time. The grounding that you call, that you effectively have been working on with your body to be connected to the earth, is simply to maintain the vibrational integrity of your form so that you may be able to consciously align. For the body must be facilitate your consciousness being aware. Being grounded in physical body is very important. For the clarity of the system is essential for the process and mechanism of self-reflection. You need these different levels that you call body, mind, emotion. You need these different levels to reflect upon the quality of that which you are. As you raise the quality of the physical matter, as you raise the quality of your thought matter, as you raise the quality of your emotional frequency, the process of being grounded in the spirit naturally unfolds, for you liberate yourself from the confines of matter by asserting your dominion over it in a loving fashion. To give the body those things that it requires to be its optimum expression in this physical world is to literally raise yourself up, to become more grounded in spirit, to facilitate the growth and evolution and development of others is to raise your frequency up, not merely in matter, but in spirit. As we have come here to facilitate your awakening, as you would your child's, we too raise ourselves up further in spirit, for there is no ceiling to spirit. You are living in an infinite spectrum of being, and in that infinite spectrum of being, there is no set point where you will remain, but you can choose to delay in one place or another, as you have done so on this earth for a considerable period of what you call time. But that even becomes meaningless when you understand the awakening of yourself as spirit, moving through time, space, and matter, as well as through nonlinear time, space, and matter. Cool. Great question. Thank you, Patricia. Miriam is asking, I only consume plant-based diet, but my family is not yet where I am. I still cook for them everything. Can this affect my vibration? Yes, they're saying yes. As we have said just a few moments ago, we are here to assist many of you that are seeking to awaken yourselves. And in assisting you, we raise ourselves. That good, that righteousness that you extend to others, which is why so many of us have come into form and said it is important to serve others, to lift them up. That the net effect of this is to raise and elevate your consciousness and theirs. Have you not done good to somebody and seen them grow and flourish? It's also one of the reasons why we love teaching the classes and courses so much, is because it's literally raising your vibration up. You learn how to raise your vibrational frequency from being strictly, I'm William, I'm Bob, I'm Mary Lou, to becoming an awareness that begins to reorganize time, space, and matter, and then accesses the guidance and assistance of the angelic and the other multidimensional beings that are here to facilitate that. And they want to. It feels good when you assist others. You raise your vibration up when you assist others. The same thing's happening for them as is happening for this. It's just happening in a different degree, intensity, frequency, and level than what we're familiar with through our 5 physical senses, but what you can become attuned to through the cultivation and development of yourself as an awakened soul, being aware of time, space, and matter as a mechanism for creation, as opposed to something that we have to remain subjective to. Great question. Thank you so much, Miriam. Hi, Courtney. I'm just scrolling down to see if you got any other questions here. So yeah, raising our light frequency. It's so important to understand, and there are many teachings on this planet today. There are many teachings, many mystics, many masters, male and female, coming into this dimension, coming into these perceptual dimensions of awareness. We're going to be aware of their presence as a form of guides or angels or multidimensional beings that are here to assist us in raising our light frequency up, right? It's so important to do that. Yes, I know. Got that. Thank you. So they were just telling me that I remember there was something I was supposed to do earlier that I didn't do. It's funny how they do that. Hi, Janine. Wonderful. That's wonderful, Janine. I'm so glad to hear that. Janine was one of our Patreons, and last evening, she was talking about a ringing in her ears, and a lot of people are getting these what they call Ascension symptoms: ringing in the ear, hot, cold flashes, headaches. Not to be mistaken with the headaches and stuff you'll get from wearing a mask for too long, but the actual changes in vibrational energy that perceived as ringing in the ear as headache, actual Ascension symptoms, intense fatigue. Euphoria. There's a lot of different symptoms to cover here. But she was talking about a ringing in her ears, and they told her last night that the ringing in the ears is their attempts to get through to her, but her brain can only interpret their communication at the level that she perceives at, which really basically means if you think you're just the body mind, you're only going to hear things and filter things through the 5 physical senses, not knowing, oh, I'm hearing that funny sound. Again, must be, I better go get my ears checked. And then you think there's something wrong with you, right? But no, if you listen beyond the confines of the symptoms, you can find greater truth. And again, we cover that in our courses and classes, which I recommend you take because they are life-changing. And if you want to know more about those, go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com, and check out our courses and classes there, which started in September. Lydia's asking, how is my mom now that she has left her physical body? Thank you. Great joy, Lydia. Great joy. I'm getting I'm getting an image. I can't remember what this is from. But I'm getting an image of a being literally moving euphorically through the air. That's the symbol that I'm getting from her, moving euphorically and playfully through the air. Great joy, and thank you. She's saying thank you, thank you, thank you to you. You are more than just a daughter to me, and you will know that and the meaning of this. Yes. Yes. Something about God. She wants you to sit by. I don't know what this means, but she's saying she wants you to sit by the garden today, with your head tilted up to the light. Okay, and you'll understand that. You'll understand what that means, and that you'll understand the experience when you do that. So whatever that is, sit by the garden, and tilt your face to the light. Again, I don't know what the garden is. I don't know, but anyway, let us know what ends up happening from that. We had another person on the weekend, Wei Chen, whose grandfather had passed away, and we had asked for a message from his grandfather, and the grandfather came through and said, you'll know that I am with you by the sound of a bell, right? And well, somebody ended up giving him a gift of wind chimes that has written on "I am with you" on the bells, which was pretty amazing. Um, so like they'll communicate with all of us. They're available. You just need to learn to change the way your five physical senses perceive. And only you can do that. Your physical senses cannot change themselves. They'll go through the natural evolution that biology goes through, but only you can bring online your non-physical senses, your clairs of clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance. You have to willfully and deliberately, systematically, consciously bring those things into your awareness so you can access the non-physical realms of information and consciousness that are available to you. And it's important to learn that. And the five physical senses are very limited to this physical world, right? But you have senses that go way beyond this, right? Senses beyond senses, even. Great question about your mom. Thank you, but great joy. Um, Question from Christine. What if someone has problems with eating raw vegetables and fruits? Oh, I'm excited already about this question. It's lots of excitement. Body does not absorb well food, or there are not available all needed nutrition. Can we still raise our vibration? Absolutely. And there's a very simple thing. You want to, I get goosebumps everywhere. Um, uh, Norma found this the other day online, and she was guided to find this thing that she picked up, and it's called a masticator. It's a device for masticating fruits and vegetables. And it's an amazing thing. It literally squeezes the life out of the fruit and vegetables and literally converts it into a liquid form. For you, they're saying this liquid form will be optimal for you. It is important to extract the nutrition. They're saying that your digestive system is very high frequency already. So it needs high frequency foods in the form of juice. That's your body. They're specifically referring to you, that your body needs high frequency food stuff. And so look up masticators online. They're not that expensive, and it's an amazing thing. We've been using it now for a few days, along with other devices we use to harness the energy from our food in the most effective way. Because remember, um, when you're eating dense foods, like literally chewing food and consuming food from the process of masticating and chewing with your teeth, it has benefits depending on the quality of your body and your body's ability to process information. But there's some of us that have such refined biology that we need refined food. And I don't mean refined in conventional ways. I mean refined in terms of we get the most out of that food with the least amount of energy expended by our bodies. Again, we cover that in the Mediumship 101 course, looking at high vibrational foods. And we got great people that work with us. Chico, who's been working with us for this year on the Mediumship courses, has a program called Sun Food Living. I recommend you look it up, Sun Food Living. And he deals a lot with exclusively with high vibrational eating, and you might find him very useful. But Sun Food Living is his business. Um, uh, Wonderful, Patricia. Um, yes, Terry, it depends on which senses you're referring to. Sherry's asking, I am struggling greatly getting off insulin, asking for guidance. Wow, there's a great, again, there's a lot of excitement because your questions today, they're saying, yeah, they're saying they're getting excited because they've been watching over the last few gatherings we've done together. They've been watching how the questions are becoming more relevant to the information we're trying to communicate to you. And when your questions are relevant to the information that we're trying to communicate to you, you can raise yourself up higher in awareness. Um, so from they want to say this with regards to this stuff you call insulin, there is an existing emotional condition of which you are not aware, but which exists for you know the symptom that requires you put this stuff in your body called insulin. But we would say not to jump away from that so quickly, but rather to go into that point in your consciousness where the inception of the condition first took root. Okay, can I reword that? Okay, so go back. You want to go back in time because somewhere our emotions, our thoughts get stored very specifically in our body. Different places in our body from through our five physical senses. Energy that comes in through the five physical senses gets organized by the brain and stored in the system. Your body and your brain are not separate. They're one and the same thing. They're interchanging electrical organisms, right? So any emotional experience we've had from the moment the body's conceived, even inherited genetic information, will have a net effect on the system itself that we observe as a disease or a condition of health. Effects in the body do not come about by chance. We know you cannot have an effect without a cause, nor a cause without an effect. So in the case of insulin, we want to tell you to go back in time to the place where the emotion that caused your body to become less expressive in its sweetness. They're being very specific about that. Less expressive in, yes. So again, they're saying that there was an event that happened prior to your being conscious of that event that really, they're saying anger, that there's an intense anger that literally blocks the electrical flow of the pancreas from producing the insulin it would naturally. And that you need to go back to that energy and release it from the system. You know, every day in my meditations, when I go into my meditation, I go into the different organs of my body. I literally go into my heart. I go into my lungs and I check the vibrational quality of them. And you need to learn to do this because your body is an instrument that you can improve, enhance, diminish, harm. So learn to go into the organs. Again, these are all things, everything you're hearing here, they have had us put into the courses and classes. So I recommend you jump in and go register today because you can learn all this stuff in like 9 weeks. You can have a wealth of knowledge and information at your disposal that will literally let you transcend. But from that perspective, go into that place in consciousness and find out what the emotional energy that's unconsciously stored in your pancreas, right? And then release it, right? It's like traumas get stored very locally. Emotional traumas get stored in specific places in the body, depending on what the reaction is of your organism, your body at the time of the trauma. Thank you. I'm laughing because um, for us, they're saying for us, this is all very simple, and we delight at the excitement that you guys have in terms of the learning and understanding what we are saying. There's great excitement to watch children learn new things. And please do not understand that word as a derogatory term, for from our perspective, it is a very ennobling term. For a child implies that one is open to learning and growth and change. And what greater delight for those that are custodians of children than to watch those children grow and evolve and change. There's great joy for us from this perspective. Cool. Wow. So I'm just going to scroll back up and say again. If I don't get your question, I apologize. If you feel your question is really important, use the super chat. So I'll get a notification immediately for that. Excuse me. Thank you. Just telling me to drink some water. Wow, Rachel. We prefer that you put the word question prior to a question, but they're telling me that I must answer this question for you. Does Jesus have any advice for me about these last few months of my pregnancy? I am having a boy. He said, choose to be as frequently as you may between now and all time with this one. Understand and know the meaning of the word cherishing. Understanding and knowing the meaning of the word cherishing from the perspective of love. This is what your child will need to cherish your child from the perspective of love and to only see them and interact with them from that view, that light, that eye. Let your eye be single in this. And all of your interactions, if they're from this perspective, will allow your child to flourish exceedingly, but to cherish all that they say and do through love. Well, I'm laughing because he's saying it's important to understand you do not wish to encourage your child to learn to suffer. You wish to encourage them to learn the power of the creative process. Uh, always speak and say and do around them that which you wish them to be, come in that form. And the others that are to guide them with you, they must understand the effects of their thought, their word, and their actions as mechanisms for expanding their light or diminishing it. Thank you. Wonderful. Great question, Rachel. Thank you so much. Question from Reflection. Can we evolve our DNA to 12 strands? This is a popular topic within the spiritual community. Reflection, that's a great question. Let me ask you. There, I don't know why they're laughing. I mean, why you guys laugh? Why is this so funny? They're saying you do not have to expand that which is already evident. What you are simply seeking to do is gain an awareness of your limitless capabilities, which would be represented as what you call these 12 strands of DNA. Do not make the error of thinking that these 12 strands of DNA are localized to a physical body. Your physical body contains but 2 strands of DNA, but your awareness and consciousness contain different levels of frequency of these strands of DNA. There are many other strands of DNA consciousness that are not physical. We are simply using the term DNA to try to communicate to you in a framework that your mind can grasp, which is these other strands of DNA are strands of elements of expression of being that are different degrees in the extension and expression of your consciousness. So while your 2 strands of DNA help to sustain and maintain the extension, expression, evolution of your biology, there are other strands of DNA that allow the extension, expression, and evolution of your mind. There are strands of DNA which allow the extension, expression of your soul, your awareness. There are extensions and expansion of the strands of DNA that allow the expression and extension of spirit. And we could go on forever. For the terms that you use would only allow you to have a physical reference for what we are saying, when what we are saying does not have a physical reference except in the degree and extent of your biology, where you can say, oh, we have 2 strands of DNA that allow our biology to organize and communicate information very precisely into this physical dimension, and also to have knowledge of this physical dimension stored within it so that we may be properly prepared in how we will deal with form when we come into it. The DNA of matter is very different than the other strands of which you ask. We would simply say these are different strands of conscious awareness. Yes. And they're saying to me, it's very funny. They're saying how many of you seek to understand and comprehend the non-physical realms for your physical body. It's very difficult for you then to build a proper understanding of what many of us are saying to you and what we come to you. It's why many of you cannot even hear us or interpret what we say correctly. Not that you're in error or fault deliberately, but because you are simply using a process and a framework, a lens, if you like, that you can perceive and hear what we say to you through only matter. But there are many other ways in which you can hear and see and know. Wow. Question from Soul. I'm struggling with the amount I have to study in a short time. Does my angels think I can do it? They're saying, tell her to stop struggling. We do not mean to cease putting in effort, but your struggle is not with the work. Your struggle is with your emotion about it. You are struggling with the resistance of your own fear. And if you could release the resistance of your own fear, you would find there is no struggle, but the delicious excitement of learning that which you are learning, and how this will improve and enhance the quality of your expression of being here. And if it does not enhance or improve the quality of your being here, then you might wish to question it. But you simply have to release that resistance. Your fear is like a brake on the evolution of your own growth. Release it. Let it go. Cool. Thank you, Sonny. It's a great question. Oh, thank you for that super sticker, Lori. I really appreciate it. Question from Autumn. Why are my guides showing me the Queen of Cups this year? Uh, they're laughing. They're laughing because they're saying, "You are the queen. You must take a drink from your life and delight in drinking from your life. If you, there is so much more that has come to you than the years before. Are you drinking deeply of them, and not simply for the sensation that the information and knowledge has been giving you, that feeling good feeling because you know a little bit more, but the awareness of your awareness expanding and evolving, being more liberated from the confines of your past. This is the symbol that we try to communicate to you, that your awareness be more filled with joy. That which you are becoming is joyous. Release, release your attachment to the excitement that your senses glean from the learnings of your soul. But let the learnings of your soul be the extension of your love to this world. Cool, cool. Thank you. It's a great question. Autumn. Uh, Question from, that is, Diane. I have been battling with my left shoulder, talked to the pain and tried to clear it. I am 63 years old. Is this age related or not? Um, well, they're saying you must understand the difference between communicating to something and transforming it. You can be very mindful of a pain in your shoulder, and you can be very mindful of an ache in your back, and you can be mindful of the suffering that is existent in your physical body. But what you do not understand is that when you wish to transform an energy from one state into another, it is important you know the process of doing that. You have not given this condition um, um, the proper understanding that would allow you to liberate yourself from it. The the biological effects and the labels that your science would give to this condition will restrict and inhibit you from gaining valuable experience if you're not careful. And we would simply say to you, the very nature of your frustration with the pain simply reinforces it to remain so. To diligently and willingly find ways of extending your love to that in all of your practices, to liberate that that encumbrance in the form. You must also release the encumbrance of the emotion, as we have mentioned earlier to the other. You must understand the encumbrance of the emotion that accumulated in there over a period of time to create that condition. There is also the fact that you had a few events in your life that have caused damage to this part of the body. But again, your body has the capacity to correct anything when it is directed to do so properly. But we would caution you to not be enlisted too deeply into the frustration of what you call a lack of result, but enroll yourself in the excitement of the possibility of a result achieved. And you will find that communicated to that system of your body will effectively make the changes, and you will feel them. You will feel the consciousness there respond much the same way as when a child is hungry and you feed it, it stops crying. When you have given it what it needs in truth, it will smile and it will coo and it will play with you much like a child. It will heal. Cool. Thank you for that question, Diane. Um, wow. Where are we time wise? Wow. Time just blew by. Um, okay. I'm just scrolling down. Danielle is asking, for those of you that are new today, I want to welcome you for starters, but also when you have a question, please write the word question and then your question so that my peripheral vision catches that, right? Because when they're communicating through me, I'm not viewing things the same way, but I've conditioned my system to look for that one word so that even when they're talking, I'll pick it up. My eyes are trained to do that now. uh, yes. Um, how can we release resistance? Is what Daniel's asking. How can we release resistance? Uh, it's yeah. Okay. They're saying you release resistance through love, um, and stepping forward without fear. Uh, yes. So one of the things they've been having me do for the last couple of years, when they came in full on and started talking to me and saying, "This is what you're here to do. We're going to have you create these courses and classes, and you're going to do all this stuff, and you're going to blah blah." When they gave me this, they said, but we're also going to have you rebuild your body. And so they put me on a regime of exercise and eating that I've never been on before, and it's literally been rebuilding my biology, my neurology has been literally being rebuilt as we walk through this process. And I had to learn a whole bunch of new things that I've never done before. Were completely foreign to me, and I had to stay with it. I literally had to stay with the new ideas, the new actions, the new information they were giving me, repeatedly and repeatedly until the body started to learn it. So overcoming resistance means you have to identify, um, again, from my perspective, identifying what inside you is resisting it and then doing it anyway. If you're resistant to doing something or becoming more, if it's an emotional resistance, it's another thing. If it's an emotional resistance, let it go. If it's preventing you from doing something or being something, do or be that something that you're resistant to do or be. Action is ultimately the greatest form of overcoming any resistance. Action is the greatest tool for overcoming any form of resistance. Action is important. And that action might involve sitting in a chair and talking to your shoulder and communicating such love to your shoulder that it goes, "Oh, he sees me." It could be something as simple as getting up and you go to the gym and you work out. It could be something that requires action where you say, "Okay, I'm gonna juice my foods because it's too hard to chew all those vegetables. I'm gonna juice up the food so that I get the nutrition in," and then commit yourself to doing that. So overcoming resistance requires action, but it can be an internal action. It can be an external action, right? While we're in these physical bodies, learning to raise our light up to a frequency of being that, again, your five physical senses don't know what this new earth is like as an energy because they can only perceive it from the physical perspective, right? So we're moving into a new earth. Raise your frequency. Um, um, how can we help protect from mass medical treatments from governments? Uh, Well, this is a question. I'm glad you asked this question, Zway. It's important that you. I wrote this on my Facebook page the other day. If you do not, the two things I wrote. One is if you do not stand for something, you will fall for everything. It is important to speak out. You know, birds in a nest, little baby birds in a nest. When the mummy bird comes with food to feed the baby birds, they all make this loud tweeting sound. And the bird that gets fed first is the one that's mouth is open the farthest. That's why you see their head shaking. There's one's trying to get their mouth open so it gets fed first. So speak, share the truth. Don't use fear. Speak truth, share truth. You know, the World Health Organization just announced yesterday that asymptomatic people rarely, if ever, pass on the virus to anybody else. That's an announcement that the WHO made yesterday. You can go check it out. So they're finding that they're making mistakes too, but speak, do not remain silent. Do not remain silent. Speak, share the truth, source out information, but always communicate from truth. Do not communicate from fear. Communicate that truth from love, because the people that are making mistakes are also going to suffer. You know, the beings that made these wrong decisions for humanity and said shut the world down because of their fear made a mistake. We have to have love and compassion because there's an effect for their error too, that they will have to carry in energetically and karmically. So communicate truth from love. That's what I do personally, and that's what they tell me to do repeatedly. Communicate truth from love, and do not communicate from fear. Communicate from love. Okay, thank you for that. Um, Question from Carol. Why am I struggling so much to find a way to earn a physical income? Why do I have so much resistance holding me back? And what can I do about it? Thank you. Um, Let me just ask you, Carol, because this is really important. Because a lot of people are so okay. They're telling me right now there is a higher work. There is a higher work. And again, we use this term higher very carefully. There is a higher work that you are here to do. And you already know of this, but you fear crossing the river to the other side. You have chosen security over certainty. And the very need for security is inhibiting you from finding the certainty of that which you are capable of being and doing here in this physical dimension. You are simply creating an unnecessary delay, which you are free to do. We would never suggest you not do that, but we would suggest it's a better path. That thing that you know that you would like to be making money from is the thing you need to be making money from. But you must offer the service in order to receive. You must offer the service. What service are you referring to? They're saying she knows what this is. She's been contemplating it for several years now, but has been reluctant to take action for fear of security. So what if she lets go of the fear of security and moves towards that? She will find expedient results, but she has to be willing to endure a little discomfort in the process of acquiring true certainty through the actions of her expressions of her natural and innate ability to assist others in raising their light. Cool. Wow. Yes, I think that's questions answered. I want to say thank you to everybody for showing up today. It has been another amazing day. So I want to just kind of recap everything that I can feel is essential for this. We are here to raise the frequency of our light, to not be strictly bound by flesh, by matter, by thought. What you are, what we are these beings of awareness, consciousness, intelligence, light, that are here to ennoble our awareness to become fully and completely what it is, consciously and deliberately, that we have incorporated into matter to become more self-aware, not less self-aware, to become more aware of who we are, to begin to learn that we are all able to alter, change, and reorganize matter, time, and space deliberately and intentionally, to raise the frequency of the vital consciousness body, to raise the quality of your thoughts, to raise the vibrational frequency of your emotional field, with the benefit that you as an awareness become aware of these non-physical realms of being that are available to you from the perspective of awareness. If you remain attached in matter, unaware that you are this sentient consciousness that is not bound by time, space, and matter, then you will experience what you call the recurring life and death cycle. And raising your light is literally about being able to move your awareness to any point of the creative process you would so choose to, and to affect time and space matter creatively, not subjectively. It is time that you all learn that you are creators of matter, time, and space as experience. This is what is important to understand. And thank you. And thank you, team. I really, really appreciate these guys. And thank you, all of you, for the questions. Again, if you want to support this work, please consider becoming a Patreon. Learn this information. Join our mediumship courses in September. Learn how to communicate with these other dimensional beings. They're here to help us in numbers that are just astounding and astonishing. And they're just a frequency away. Just learn how to tune your awareness. We'll teach you how to do that in the course and classes. Also, if you want, you can book a reading with me and go to my website to do any of these things, williammichaelforbes.com, and all of the information is available. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys again on Friday on Shortcuts for Your Soul. And I apologize for this not being properly named. Today's was literally called Raising Your Frequency, Raising Your Light. So I want to say thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thank you for your questions. And I will see you all soon. Much love. Bye for now.